I'm Chip Rowan, and this is Good to Know. For this episode, we are in Scottdale at the Gazebo, and we are right down the street from the Geyer Performing Arts Center. And with me today is Jessica Zach and Chelsea Forbes. Good to have you here, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. And Jessica is actually a board member for the Geyer Performing Arts Center, and Chelsea is actually the vice president for Actors and Artists of Fayette County. And we're here to talk a little bit today about how the Geyer has been affected by COVID-19. And all of our lives have been affected by that, but since they actually invite the public in, and usually it's a public setting, there's really has been an impact on them. And they had a full slate of shows. I actually just looked at your schedule today, and I'm a big Disney fan, so I was seeing like Mary Poppins on there, and a big musical fan, and one of the classics was Oklahoma. And so it was sad to see those shows that were canceled. Could you talk a little bit about that, Jessica, and how that decision was made?
Yeah, originally in March, the whole country got shut down, and so we kind of put everything on pause. We weren't sure where we were going to be able to go from there, and then we made the decision a little later on to cancel our summer season. All of the shows were quite large, and so it felt kind of dangerous to put all those people, in a room. Our stage is small, our green room is tight, our theater is small. Right. And then once we got put in the green, we wanted to be able to put shows on again in the fall, but unfortunately, just with everything that would need to happen, we'd have to get plexiglass installed, add hand sanitizer stations, lots of things that unfortunately, since we've been closed, we didn't have the funds to do. And if we can't open safely, then we can't open at all.
Yeah, and I can understand that. And things are constantly changing too, and it is a tight space in there. And without people, it's hard to pay the bills because you want to sell tickets. Right. So it's hard to do that. Now I know part of this, and Chelsea, you're with Actors and Artists of Fayette County, and that's actually you actually have the talent that comes in and actually puts on the shows.
A lot of it, yeah.
A lot of it, and I know from my theater background, there's a lot of relationships and there's a connection there, and it almost becomes like a family, that group of people. And you've lost that opportunity there, so I'm sure that's difficult.
It's been really hard. I know, especially on my closest friend group, I would say, is like this group of people from the theater, and we just don't really get to see each other because normally you're doing 20 different shows a year, and you're stage managing this one or directing this one, you're acting in this one, and now we don't see each other as much. We're Zooming, and we're trying to see each other now that we're in green, but it's very different. It's a very different atmosphere.
Well, social media helps you to keep connected.
It does,
and we're fortunate to have that. If this would have happened 20 years ago, it would have been a lot different situation.
A lot of letter writing.
Yeah, a lot of telephone calls. But you're able to keep connected, too. Could you talk about the cabarets? You're doing what those are and how those are helping you keep connected and actually getting the theater out to the public.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess individually, both Geyer and AFC had an idea to do cabarets. And at one of the Geyer board meetings, it was brought up, let's just do them together. I mean, why not? We're two organizations at the same theater. We want to really continue to connect, and this is the best time, unfortunately, to do it because we're not putting on shows.
Yeah.
Right.
So we decided, Jess reeled me in. She organized basically the whole thing, and she decided that it was a good idea to do monthly cabarets. The goal was to eventually put them on stage. Yeah. They were hopefully gonna be going on stage soon, but
eventually you thought that could happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, with all the restrictions, it just wasn't plausible. So they're all virtual through December, roughly the third or fourth weekend, depending on how many weekends are in that month, really. Okay. And they've been wonderful. They've all been themed. We've done 2 so far. We did a Disney theme in June for our first cabaret.
I'm sorry I missed that.
I bet you are. Well, there's going to possibly be a part 2.
Okay,
Disney,
well, I'll have to watch for that.
We had so much interest for that one.
Yeah, that's good.
And then the last one was the Tony Awards. So we did Tony Award winners.
Okay.
Shows, authors, actors. And that was really fun. We actually dressed up like we were at the Tonys.
Well, it sounds like fun.
Yeah, and it's been nice to be able to see people during these. They're on Zoom. They're streamed live on Geyer Performing Arts Center's Facebook.
Right, I was going to ask you how you could find that.
Yep.
Okay.
And they're at 7 o'clock. The next one's August 24th, I believe. 22nd. Yeah. 22nd. I keep saying the 24th.
Okay.
August 22nd at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And it'll be streamed through the Geyer Performing Arts Center. Do we have the theme for that one?
Audition no-nos.
Audition no-nos.
Oh, that sounds interesting. Sounds funny, actually.
So some things you may not want to really hear when you audition a show if you're the director, and something you may not want to sing if you're the performer.
Right. So the next one's August 22nd, 7 o'clock, and that's on the Geyer Performing Arts Center Facebook page.
Yep,
Excellent.
correct.
And I guess it looks like the Brady Bunch with Zoom. Yeah. People are in their little squares.
Yep, about that. Yeah.
And everyone's at home or some other location. And so
Yep.
you're getting to see everyone's house. I found that interesting, too, even with the
It's
news.
true. The backgrounds are very interesting.
Yeah,
always.
yeah. And varied.
Yes.
Now, Jessica, you're with the Geyer, and I know overhead still exists for the theater. So you're still trying to pay utilities, and you have bills that you need to pay, and I imagine there's even some staff that still has to be paid and some things like that. So how do these cabarets help with that?
They, all of the money goes in our fund. Our treasurer would have the specifics. But yeah, we still have our theater manager who's still coming in and doing some things that we haven't been able to do, organizing, cleaning, that kind of stuff. And so there's still utilities. Property taxes are coming up. And
Right, I know, I wasn't even thinking about that.
yeah, and our building is a Victorian era building, so it costs that much more to air condition, heat, and all that stuff.
It still needs to be maintained so that when you can open up, that it's ready to go.
Right.
Now, when someone's watching a cabaret, I guess they have an opportunity to make a donation?
Yes, so there's a donate button attached to every post.
Wonderful.
So you can just click on it and donate that way.
Yeah, and folks, I encourage you to do that. I'm going to do that. I'll promise you that I'll do that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
We'll hold you to it.
the Geyer's a great location. It's an opportunity for local talent, and it's the arts here in our community. So let's continue to support them. This is a difficult time, and we need to help these organizations get through these tough times so that they're available when things are better. And there will be a brighter day. I promise you that too. Other virtual activities, other than the cabarets, or other fundraising activities? You mentioned a cookbook, I think?
Yeah, a couple of our board members had the idea to do a cookbook, and so we've been trying to do that all virtually. We had maybe originally looked at order forms, but so we have an email set up to take recipe submissions.
Excellent. Listen close, folks.
Which is geyercookbook@gmail.com. And you can send any recipe of any kind, main dish, side dish, dessert. We're just looking to put together basically a community cookbook, and we encourage creative names of recipes. So maybe thank you 5 cheese mac and cheese, or something else theater related. If not, don't worry about it. We just want to be able to
applause applesauce.
Yeah,
there you
wow,
go.
That's a good one. But yeah, we just want to be able to feature people's recipes, and then we'll have an online order form set up once we get them all, and we're hoping to have them printed and out in time for Christmas if people wanted to give them as Christmas gifts.
Great idea. So they can email to geyercookbook@gmail.com.
Yes.
And they can send a recipe in. Now, if they wanted to order a book, can they do that through the same email? Send a request?
I don't believe we've set that up yet.
Okay, but it's coming.
It's coming, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if it'll be via the email or if we'll have a separate website set up.
Your Facebook would probably have information about that.
Yeah, we post on our Facebook and also on our Instagram and our Twitter. AAFC also has all of those things as well. So if you're ever curious what's happening at the theater, even now, check both of our social medias. I'm sure there's lots of stuff there.
Okay. And other than the cookbook, is there anything else that's happening?
Not at the moment. We've been looking at some other things, maybe adapting some plays to read over Zoom and stream. Nothing else is set in stone yet. We're still brainstorming, trying to figure out,
It's all new waters.
Right.
Trying to figure that out, so
Yeah.
I can understand that. Now, if someone just wants to make a donation, just to send the check, could you tell them how they could do that, who they make the check payable to, and where they can mail that?
Yeah, they can make it payable to the Geyer Performing Arts Center, and they can just, I believe, send it to our address. We also have a P.O. box, which off the top of my head, I can't recall.
We'll get that, folks, and we'll be able to put that up on the screen. So we'll get that
but
information
I think
and
either
share.
way, if you send it to the address of the theater, which is 111 Pittsburgh Street?
Yeah, okay.
111 Pittsburgh Street, or our P.O. box if you can find it.
Okay, and we'll find the P.O. We'll do some homework, and we'll get that for you. I didn't warn you about that in advance. That was my fault. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about, there's 2 organizations represented here. One is Actors and Artists of Fayette County, and the other one is the Geyer Performing Arts Center. And if you could give the mic to Chelsea, we'll start out just by talking. Could you explain what your organization does and how it fits in with the Geyer?
Yeah, sure. We've been around since the 1980s. We were the original acting troupe here at the Geyer Performing Arts Center. It used to be called the Scottdale Showtime Theater.
I remember that.
I have been there long enough to remember it being called that. And we started off just doing shows and putting shows on. Years later, when the Geyer Performing Arts Center came in and renamed the building and really took over as handling all the finances and really the upkeep of the theater, they started producing shows too once they were comfortable.
Right.
So we roughly split the season, essentially down the middle anymore, doing about 6 and 6, 5 and 5, whatever we decide that year. And we mostly put on the shows, but we are trying to get more involved, with actively trying to help, especially right now with the fundraising and everything. Right. And yeah, I mean, it's a really great organization. I love it. I've been a member of the board for about 13 years now.
Okay.
Since I was a junior member, and my mother's been on the board, and my fiance is now on the board.
So it's a family.
So it's just a whole family affair.
And that's a good thing. That's a good.
But yeah, I mean, I love AAFC, and right now we are just completely. We act at the Geyer Performing Arts Center, and we love it there. So
yeah, that's
we're
wonderful.
Very thankful for Geyer to be there to handle all the stuff. All the upkeep that we don't want to handle.
Yeah. and Jessica, for the Geyer, so that's the building, and you also produce shows too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so they produce, you said, about 6 in the Geyer, so you both have some shows, and then your board actually oversees the building, then makes decisions based on maintenance and improvements and that sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a as you mentioned, it's a Victorian building, so there's a lot of upkeep there. But both of you do a wonderful job. I always enjoy the shows. I probably make about half of them. Wish I could make more, but I make about half of the shows. And I always enjoy being there, and the talent is always great. So good job to actors and artists of Fayette County.
Oh, that's Geyer too.
Yeah,
it's not just us.
And the building is great too, and the shows that you produce, I always enjoy that. So folks, we want to keep this here in Scottdale, and in the Scottdale area, all the communities that enjoy this. So help them out by sending donations in. Ordering a cookbook, watching the cabaret, and hitting that donate button and making a donation. Ladies, anything else you'd like to share that we haven't touched on that would be of interest to our viewers today?
Think of anything, really.
Well, I guess watching Facebook, keep an eye on Facebook. Yeah. They'll keep activities out there. And we thank you for joining us, and this is good to know.